Okay, this is the follow-up to the weekly instructions. I hadn't anticipated doing this, but what I'm going to do here is, since the Unit 4 stuff goes directly to the final exam, I'm going to assign you to get yourself a copy. It's there at the study materials. Run it, make a copy of it on paper of the final exam review topics list, and then read through the Unit 4 portion of the supplement, paying particular attention to the questions or the topics that are on that list. Okay, that's going to be in lieu of any videos that I might prepare. But for lack of time, I'm a bit painted in the corner here, but I'm going to make 1301 videos, but I'm just let you find this stuff in the supplement because I read over all that today, and I'm not sure that I could add that much to it. And you probably got lack of time issues yourself. So that's where you want to go with that. One other thing I wanted to say, I thought the final papers that you turned it in were mostly really quite impressive. I think that might be because the topic is so current and such a matter of concern to so many people. There were a few concerns that I kind of wanted to editorialize about. Some of the papers I found a rather unexpected bit of animus toward the president, and kind of give you the other side on that. When this thing broke back in like February or March, really nobody knew much of anything. So to expect the president, who's not a biochemist or anything like that, to have all the answers and deliberately get them wrong is just doesn't really make any sense. And his response was quite vigorous. He imposed a travel ban from the countries where this was happening. China first, because that is where it originated. Don't let anybody mislead you on that. And then it spread to Europe because the city where it seems to have started, Wuhan, China, is bigger than New York City. It's got 11 million people. And by the time we heard about this, 5 million of them were gone. And China had permitted a good many of them to immigrate to Western Europe, taking the virus with them. So anyway, the travel ban was appropriate. And the same people who a few months later were railing against the president for not acting quickly enough were, at the time that he did it, railing against him for being xenophobic. So that doesn't stack up. Anyway, there was that. So I just wanted to editorialize about that. The other thing was there were people, and I'll look back at the documents you're working from, but there were people who were drawing an equivalency between the 1918 Spanish flu and the 2020 COVID-19 as if COVID is as bad as the Spanish flu. COVID is minor league compared to Spanish flu, the flu of 100 years ago. And the thing about giving people lethal doses of aspirin, that I hadn't heard that. It sounds credible. But, today there have been things that were done that speeded death rather than recovery. So that may be a wash. But the death rate among those who contracted the flu 100 years ago was about 20%. You catch it, you got 1 chance in 5 of living over it. And a lot of people who did live over it were never really fully healthy again. Some of them suffered a certain amount of mental impairment. It looks like President Wilson himself had it because his biographers noticed a distinct before and after shift in his political acumen after the illness. Okay, now compare one chance in 5 of dying to basically the same demographic that was getting ravaged by the Spanish flu 100 years ago, young and middle-aged adults. People in that age range who have no comorbidities or background conditions, the death rate is, by a liberal estimate, 0.05%. That is 1 out of every 2,000 instead of 1 out of every 5. This time around, the people hardest hit are senior citizens. I'd be in a high-risk category. I've just never really been that worried about it. I take my precautions, but I'm not worried about it. They get hit the hardest, and even with them, at least 4 out of 5 do live over it. So it's mutating rapidly, so you never know what turn it's going to take next. But we're a long way from this being as bad as the Spanish flu was 100 years ago. One thing you don't hear a peep about, you've got your mask, got your social distancing, stay out of crowds, that kind of stuff. Have you heard anybody say anything about how you can bolster your immune system? Your immune system is always your first line of defense. Anything else is secondary. And that fits a pattern I might editorialize on here in a minute, but how can you do that? Okay, I'm not authorized to give medical advice, so what follows comes just from common knowledge. There are certain vitamins. Vitamin C is always important. If I'm in the hospital, they're going to be mainlining vitamin D IV right then, right now, or I'm getting a different doctor. But vitamin D particularly is important to your immune system. And there was a pharmaceutical that was controversial for a while called hydroxychloroquine. And of course, because the president mentioned it, that means it had to be straight from hell. So people were ridiculing that. Oh, it's untested. Untested, excuse me. It was approved by the FDA in the late 1940s. It's been used effectively against malaria in a lot of third world countries. And in those countries, there are a lot of people who've had hydroxychloroquine, and they're just not getting COVID much. What that does, what the drug does, is make it easier for your cells to absorb zinc. Zinc is also important to your immune system, very important. So they said we tested it and it failed. They probably just gave people hydroxychloroquine without supplementing zinc. Of course it's going to fail. There's nothing there for it to act on. So there's just so much craziness out there, and it's all politically charged because it's an election year. I'm to the point where I just don't really trust much of anything about this thing. There is a vitamin supplement called quercetin. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm told that it does about what hydroxychloroquine does without the side effects. Virtually all prescription meds have side effects. Now, the pattern I've seen is that everything has been aimed at scaring people, frightening people, because for politicians greedy for power, this would be a godsend if they believed in God. Politicians always want to frighten people. For a long time now, we just sort of stagger from one crisis to the next, and every crisis that comes along, they want more power. Frightened people will snap a salute and do anything you tell them to do because they're scared. And this can easily be used to frighten people. And I'm not commenting on whether it's not prudent to be a little bit frightened. That's a different question. Just that it fits so neatly with politicians and their greed for power. Once governments acquire powers, they do not relinquish them easily. So look for the virus to hang around a long, 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 long time because they're going to keep us scared as long as they can keep us scared. Okay, got that out of the way. Was there anything else I needed to lay on you? That'll probably do for today. Remember, your assignment is to read the last portion of the supplement with the Final Exam Review Topics Unit 4 portion in front of you as well. So that's going to take care of that. And for some future version of History 1302, I might do some supplements. This particular stuff, I might just pick and choose a few things in a day or two, but for the moment, I won't be adding any supplements. So have a nice day. Oops, I did think of one more thing that I wanted to comment on that kept coming up because one of the documents was posted. And the statistics tell us lots of stuff. Sometimes they're misleading. They can be made to show anything you want to show. But it looked like African Americans had an unusually high infection rate. And how do you explain that? Those numbers don't lie. What's up with that? So people are quick to point out inequality and that sort of thing, and that could play a part. But there is another factor that few people have been aware of. Your main source of vitamin D, which is so important to your immune system, is sunlight. you absorb it through your skin during sunlight, particularly during the midday hours. Now, to get all you would need for this, you would need to be um, out in the midday sun, exposing as much skin as you dared for quite a bit of time. So it's perfectly okay to supplement vitamin D, but here's what I'm coming at here. The darker your skin, the more difficult it is for you to absorb vitamin D. Lighter skinned people absorb vitamin D from the sun more efficiently than darker skinned people do. That has to be part of the explanation. So, another thing, the authorities, if they were responsible, would be encouraging everyone to supplement vitamin D and C and zinc and whatever else it is, because your immune system is your first line of defense. Okay, there was one other thing, but I already forgot what that was, so we'll let it go again here.